Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Keep Moving Forward. This week's episode is super unique because it's not just me talking into a microphone this week. This week we have four people: myself, Emily Helderman, who is the host of the Kind Mind Project, Meghan Hurley Powell, who is the host of the Power Within Her podcast, and Jess Clerke, who is the host of Selfish Confidence podcast. The four of us are talking today and did an entire podcast episode regarding our experience with the EmpowerHER live event that was in Phoenix, Arizona just a few weeks ago. So we talk about how we're adjusting back to the real world. We talk about our experience, what we learned, who our favorite speakers were, if there was any imagery that we loved from the event. So this week's episode is a fun conversation with what it's like being back in reality. This week's episode is actually just part one of four. Each, myself, Emily, Meghan, and Jess are each publishing our portion of the podcast where we ask the questions to each other. So while you are seeing mine on YouTube, you will actually need to head on over to each of their podcasts to check out their portion of the interview. So all of that is going to be linked in the description, so you can go check out the entire episode or the entire conversation through each of our episodes. So let's go ahead and enjoy this conversation.
I need to like get the energy up because I feel like we're all like super sleepy. So like,
don't worry, I got you.
I don't know, do something.
Oh my God, please post that.
Yes, it's like I started a YouTube channel, so this will go on the YouTube channel.
Oh.
Okay, all right. Don't worry. I'm gonna get us
my
some
closet. So sorry.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
How you feeling? Head toss, check my nails.
Is this part of the podcast or are we just pumping up?
We're just pumping up, but if we want this part of the podcast, we can go for it.
Keep it moving, yeah.
Yes, Lord.
Trying to get some new shit in there, swimwear, going to the pool shit. Come now, come dry
I'm not
your
sure how-
eyes. You know you a star, you can touch the sky. I know that it's hard, but you
Meg's
have
like,
to
this is
try.
bringing back nightmares from being on stage.
I know.
know.
I love that. I think I have my questions if you guys are good with it.
Give it.
Okay. So the first question that I would want to ask is, what was the biggest surprise for you at the event? And I don't mean like a physical surprise. Like, I mean, in your kind of like emotional journey through the event, what was the biggest kind of surprise or thing that came up for you that you weren't anticipating? And I don't want to say expecting, because I think a lot of us came into the weekend not really expecting anything specific. But what was just like, wow, for you, I guess?
Ooh, I think for me, it wasn't even anything in particular. It wasn't any specific speaker or the surprise guest speaker who was there. It wasn't any of that. For me, it was who I became in that room and how I didn't want to leave that. So for me, like, I ain't a front row girl. You guys made me a front row girl, which is crazy. I'd rather hide in the back and like not be up in the front. And you were like, no, we're going early. We're getting front row seats. I was like, okay. The next day, I tackled people to get front row seats. So that's just has never really been who I am, because I didn't want to be seen. But in that room, I felt seen, even though I didn't have to put myself in the front row. I didn't have to put myself in certain situations. So I just was surprised by who I became by being around the right people, strong people who saw past the walls that I put up for myself and loved and were excited to be there. And everybody was just so kind about that.
Yeah. And I think poor Diana on the way there, like, had to deal with my anxious ass the entire day. Like, I was scared shitless. I'm not gonna lie. I was scared. I get intimidated real easily, and just self-conscious, and the whole spiraling of it all. I was scared, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how I would act, what walls I would put up. And I think the biggest thing that shocked me, I guess, is that I allowed myself to be myself. I allowed myself to get emotional when it felt right. I allowed myself to be a freaking weirdo that is that authentic version of me, I'm so very used to like at work hiding and covering up and not being as fully me as I could, and especially in an experience like this of like literally 400 women in a room can be a really intimidating place. So yeah, I think I was shocked at that piece of it.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, like we had such good conversation on our way up there. And like the thing that comes to my mind is how we came up with the sloth. Like it was literally okay. So those of you who are listening don't know the sloth.
You need to explain
the
Let's
sloth.
explain
Yeah,
it.
Sergio, our friend.
Right, Sergio
Yes.
the sloth. So Emily and I were in the airport on Friday morning, head down, and Emily said something along the lines of like, let's have a symbol or like something to kind of let other people know that we're safe, but we're like stressed out or we're anxious and we need to like go have a moment. And so like you and I literally just were like looking through like emojis to find something. And so we decided on the sloth because like sloths are slow. So that was kind of like an indication that we needed to slow down. And so throughout the event, if we needed a moment to kind of like step away, but like let people know we were okay, we would send the sloth emoji. And that's just like, it's fun now because it like even still, I know that if now that we've moved past, we're out of the event, if I need to check in and support or be supported, I have my sloth girls. And like you're right, like it was really stressful or causing a lot of anxiousness to like show up and be like, I don't know what this is going to be like. I don't know if I'm going to feel overwhelmed, if I'm going to feel scared, I'm going to feel anxious, all of these things, but it worked out so well. Like and I think even just having the sloth there was like peace of mind enough to know that like I was safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I only had to sloth one time too. And I don't think I told you guys. I was like, I was sloth then. And I told you guys after because nobody was there. So I was like, I'll just like eat a snack, hang out in the room, take a moment by myself. Yeah. But I really didn't need to use it a whole lot because it was just, I was around the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jess, you like mentioned this piece of, honestly, like it was hard for us to walk out of that room.
It was so hard.
Like we lingered.
Yeah. Everyone was like starving. They're like, we need to go for lunch. And like, nobody wanted to leave.
Home. Yeah. I think that shocked me too. Like I knew I wouldn't want it to be over, but that feeling of like, wait, no, this feels like the most homey place ever. I don't want to go. That was surprising to me.
Yeah. And like I did a lot of retreats when I was younger, and so I knew I know that feeling, and it kind of sucks like when you get back in the real world and feel like that's gone, like you can't be there. So it's really hard, and I think that that's one of the things that I've been really working to take away is like it's not the room, it's the people in it. But it's really hard because we are all like literally on this call, we're spanning three different time zones and
two countries.
Oh my gosh, how did I miss that aspect of it? 2 countries, 3 time zones. And so it's hard to like to walk away because it's so much easier when you're in the same place, when you're in the same room, in the same time zone, in the same country. But it was I will say I agree with you, like especially leaving the next morning like was a lot harder for me than I thought it was gonna be.
I cried in the airport for a long time, like a weirdo by myself. At least you guys were together. I was all alone.
I know. I sent you a message and you were like, don't make me cry again, I'm Mark.
You're like, not now. I'm going to Disneyland. Leave me alone.
It's okay, Jess. I cried on the airplane like by myself.
Well,
so it's okay.
I remember you saying that. Oh, I'm so proud of you though, because I feel like even a former version of you wouldn't have done that.
Me?
Yeah.
crying on an airplane by myself.
Yeah, I just like I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like you like that's not characteristic for you.
Yeah, I am not, and I get a lot of crap about this, but like I'm not an ugly crier. Like I mean, I'm not an ugly crier. It takes a lot to get me to cry, but like once those gates are open, like they're open.
The floodgates.
The floodgates will fly open. And I think that was like the most the biggest thing that like that shocked me, I guess. Like the thing that immediately came to mind was the like so much more emotion than I thought. Like so much more just like outward emotion. I mean, Amber brought me to tears. The breath work brought me to tears. Jamie brought me to tears. Like just like started crying everywhere because I don't, and I just don't know why. But like I just think that, you know, the Enneagram 1 self-preservation 1 in me is like, well, not in me, like is me, but like, I mean, it is all about like the regulating emotions where it's like, you have to put up this like perfect exterior front about how you should be. And I just think that that's why I don't have the ugly cries, like very regulatory when it comes to like the emotions, like hold in the anger, don't let it like explode everywhere. Right. So yeah, just all the deep emotions I felt was just like, wow. You know, I mean, I did not expect, I expected it to be a roller coaster that just went up and up and up and up with no down. You know, like I expected so much hype, and then it was like there were ups and there were downs, like emotionally, not like downs by like a bad thing, but I was just like, I did not expect there to be space for tears.
Yeah
I will say, like, mine is probably the exact same answer. Like I went into this with a very, like, I guess clinical mindset is almost like a bad word, but I would say that that's probably the appropriate way to describe it, where like I went, and Emily and I talked about this, like I went with the intention of being on a mission of networking and meeting people. Like I didn't intend to have any sort of like emotional or visceral reaction to anything about the weekend, if I'm being totally honest. And like, I didn't think that I would cry or that I would feel things as deeply as I did. So I think for me, like the biggest thing was that like I just opened up in general and like felt emotions, because that's not what I thought this was going to be at all. And so it was really good for me, I think, for that. And so the exact same of what you said.
The rock that is you.
The rock that is me. I'm glad that you enjoyed that.
I did. I really, really did.
I think it's so interesting that you said it, because I was the opposite. I knew I was going into that room so that I could have a release, like an emotional release, because I hold it in all the time. And whenever I'm in those rooms, and I'm an empath, so I feel everybody's energy. So it just helps me to release even more. And I knew I needed to get some shit out, and not from my CBD, but from my emotions. And so I was just like, get it off me. There's so many blocks in here that I really just need to release it. I went in there because I was like, I want to cry.
Well, so
you were on a mission to
you're
cry.
like,
get these emotions out of me. And I struggle with my emotions. So I was like, I knew it was coming. And I was just kind of like waiting for the ball to drop.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a lot of them.
You did so good.
Jess, you say this all the time, and it always surprises me every time you say it. Of like, you say like you're not good with your emotions. You're probably like the most emotionally intelligent person like I have met, because whenever you feel something, you literally call it out. And it inspires me so much to like take a moment, like when I feel something, to not just move on, like to like say, oh, that made me angry, and like figure out why it made me angry or why it made me sad. So like every time you say that, it really surprises me, because you inspire me so much to feel my emotions more deeply.
See, I'm aware of them, but I try not to feel them, because even you said that too, because I've told you this before, and you're like, well, maybe when you do feel them, you should sit in it longer. And I'm like, shut up. But that's the truth. Like I'm aware of the emotions, and I know what they are, and I can call them. It's like you have that poster and you're like, I am happy, I am sad. I can do that. The part of it that I struggle with is just like, actually feeling them and processing them and sitting in them when the tears come up.
Yeah. And I think honestly, that's something that smacked me in the face when it came to Tracy O'Malley. She was literally like, I don't want to see you passing out tissues. I don't want to see you comforting the friend next to you. You're going to feel that and you're going to sit in it. And I was like, oh, you're right.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
That
I
was
am.
so hard.
But it's so real, right?
Mhm.
My gut reaction was like, oh my gosh, Diana's crying. Oh my gosh, Jess isn't okay. Oh my God. No. Let them feel the things. That's why they're here. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting
so
too. She's like,
hard.
don't pass them a tissue. And I'm like, I can't. I'm Canadian. I have to pass a tissue. She needs a tissue.
She
Bro,
needs
But
it.
I
have
used
to.
that. I used that this weekend in one of my own events that I had too, because I wanted people to feel their feelings when they
I
were there.
love
So
it.
I was gonna go get a box of tissues, and I was like, nope,
No.
we're gonna feel them today.
I think Tracy was probably the speaker that surprised me the most. Because I'm gonna be honest, like I did not have I had heard her speak before, and she had kind of that harsh tone, and I was like, I'm not gonna love that. Like I think that she is I think she's too harsh. I don't think that she cares for people, and boy was I wrong. She cares for them, and that's why the tough love comes.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And she showed that so vividly. I would say she was the speaker who I was shocked the most by, I think. Another question that is kind of like coming up for me now is because we talked a little bit about like this being home and what action items, but let's talk about like your support system. Like what kind of things now are you needing support on that maybe are different than the support you needed before you went to the event? Like, what did you learn about yourself in the process? And what does that support system look like now versus maybe what it was before? Meghan, you were like shaking your head like you're like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what came up for me is, so fun little side fact is I try to not overly think, like Christine and I talked about this too, where it's like, I think with my head so much, like, duh, right? Like people think with their heads, but like I lead with my head and like try to like lead like with my heart more and what's coming up for me. And so I'm trying to like honor the first thing that pops up in my head, which is so ironic, but we're just going to roll with it. It's fine. So the thing for me that pops up is honestly like affirmations. So I don't know if you all have heard about this or someone listening in has heard about this, but the 5 love languages. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love
Okay.
'em.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Preach
We're
it, girl.
all good.
Love me
We're all
some
on
love
board.
languages.
Yes. So I think one of my love languages actually is affirmations, but I don't let myself believe that because I don't, my husband has said this for a long time now. He's like, you're really horrible at letting the love in. Like I'm really horrible at letting compliments in, believing people's affirmations, right? Where it's like someone could tell me, oh, Meghan, your book on journaling is fantastic. Like I love it. It's changed my life. And I got that a lot at the event. And I accepted it. I was like, yeah, this is great. There was that tiny little shred of doubt that was like, oh, but what if they're not telling the truth? And like, that's like the inner critic trying to like sabotage that. But I feel like just, I don't know, like with who I am and like what I struggle with, like, I think I need to let more of like the love and like the compliments and the affirmations, especially like from my husband or from loved ones or just like anybody to come in where they're like, oh, that was a really good presentation or that was a great point at the meeting, and just like accepting that and letting that make me feel good, not hanging my hat on everybody else's validation, but just I think I'm so scared of letting other people's validation and like affirmations like to become addicted to it that I've put up a total shield where it's like, no, I don't want any of that. But I think I need some of that. So that's been something that I'm kind of trying to like work through, I think.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How about you guys?
I think for me, the support that I started to learn that I needed was actually more business support than I realized. I've always been I can do it all on my own. Don't you worry. It's not that heavy. Like I got this. I don't need help. And have been like really taking that solo entrepreneur to heart. But after leaving the event, I started to realize, you know what, it actually would be nice to have some help. And like having someone even just to clean the house or having someone to take some responsibilities off my plate. Like maybe it's even editing the podcasts and doing the show notes. Those little things that I put so heavily on myself I've started to kind of delegate out and ask for that support that I needed in different places, because I don't have to do it alone. And I say that with like that weird face of like, ugh, I want to do it all.
Yeah.
But I'm actually not that great at a lot of these things. And if I were to delegate it to other people, it could be great. It could be better.
Yeah.
So I think leaning on that and getting the support that I need to plan some of these events and just know that that I don't have to do business by myself has been really, really key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar boat. I think I've been ignoring for a long time, and I've known this, but I've been ignoring for a long time. Like, Emily, you need a business coach.
Mhm.
Like you need someone that is going to, one, hold you accountable and push you in ways that you're not willing to push yourself. And I immediately after was like, I feel like I connected with Amber Lillystrom for a reason. Like I just one of those like gut feelings, and she walked me through this whole breakthrough call and was like, yeah, I think you need someone to kick you in the ass and hold you accountable and also mentor you in business. That's been something that you have been shying away from. You don't like to talk about money. You don't like to talk about like all of these uncomfortable things. I think all of those things that I've been shying away from, I'm like, that is the kind of accountability, the kind of mentorship that I feel like I need right now.
How did that go? So are you going to work with Amber then like more, or was like that introductory call kind of what you were looking for?
So in the future, I'm doing her Ignite Your Business course, and then I'm hoping to work up to like one-on-one coaching with her. She is a brilliant soul. So
Yes.
yeah.
I think for me, like one of the things that I really took away and realized that I needed support in was feeling, or not even feeling, like it was the community of people who are on a similar journey. I have an amazing, amazing support system. Like everyone in my life is so supportive of me and what I'm doing. But at times I feel like they don't understand like the challenges of like entrepreneurship and like the ups and downs of it. So I want to connect with other entrepreneurs and do more like kind of what we talked about even before the event, like a mastermind. I think for me, like to really take me to that next level, I need the support of other entrepreneurs or a mastermind or something, because I think that it's going to be a whole lot easier for me to kind of have that money mindset mentality of like Chris Harder said it, and something that I've been saying to myself over and over again since the event is when good people make good money, they can do great things.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about this on your live, Emily, and like it requires money to do things in life. And like, that's not a bad thing.
Life.
It is like, it is a cold, hard fact.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need people who have that same mentality to pour into me and be like, yes, you're freaking hosting an event, charge people for it. Like, because I was thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't want to charge people for it. They don't want to come. Like, so, but like, if I'm going to be a good money I'm going to be a good money. I'm going to be a good person who makes good money, who can do great things. I have to have that entrepreneurship mindset. And so I think for me, that's kind of the thing that I'm like, this is the support I need.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here for this week's episode of Keep Moving Forward. Come back next Friday for next week's episode, and it's going to be my 1-year anniversary of podcasting coming up. So come back and check out that episode. Do not forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and I will see you next week. And until then, keep moving forward.